Hey everybody, it's Jack Rame again, and another issue of Straight Talk with Jack. We're going to talk about some jazz today. Um, this is Harry Edison's band. Um, I do buy some CDs still, and I did pick this up on Discogs the other day. I found that it's a really great recording. It's called Sweets. That was Harry Edison's nickname, Sweets Edison. What a great trumpet player. Known really for the Basie band, but just a great player. You can always tell his style. He repeats notes a lot. And he plays this little glissando of chromatic notes, 4 or 5 notes that doesn't end on the fifth, but just a half a tone under the fifth, and it's really indicative of his playing. Just a great player, just a wonderful, just melodic player, and this is a great record. I think this was made in California. It was on a Clef label. But reissued under the Verve label, so I guess Universal must own the rights to this. And on here is Ben Webster, Barney Kessel, that's why I think it's on Jimmy Rolls. These are West Coast players. Drummer I don't recognize, and Joe Madragan on bass. But a great little piece of music if you can find it. I'm guessing, no date on this, but I'm guessing it's probably early 60s, maybe 62, 63. A lot of dizzy in Harry's playing, and just a great player. Harry Edison, Sweets. A couple other things I picked up recently too, again on Discogs. Willis Jackson, very different from what you're hearing here. Willis Jackson is an alto player, very soulful player, very melodic, and just a great interpreter of tunes. Guys like Sanborn and these other guys, they all came from Willis Jackson. This is a record he did. It's a combination of 2 or 3 recordings. It's called Soul Night Live. It's done live. It's pretty raucous, but it's good playing. Al Martino, the guitar player, we'll talk about him maybe a little bit later. Just a really, I mean, his solo on, I think it's on Perdido, is epic. And I think he was 19 when he was playing with this band. Just a great player. Willis Jackson, Soul Night Live. And this is on Prestige. I wish I had the vinyl of this. I bet it sounds real good. Some new recordings. I went over to my local audio dealer, and he also sells some records over in Gig Harbor, Washington, not too far from here. And I asked him if he had any new jazz come in, and he says there's a big stack in the back if you'd like to look for it. So let me look at it before it hit the store. And there were some real treasures in there. I'll show you some of them. He had a copy on the original Verve of Sonny Stitt, Blows the Blues. There's no cover on this. I looked on eBay, just maybe I could find a bad copy, but a good cover. And they had 2, 3 copies, and they were $30, $40 a piece. So I'm not going to pay that for a cover. But Sonny Stitt, Blows the Blues. I don't know who's on this, but I know it's a great recording, and it's one of Sonny Stitt's better recordings. I was looking for this for quite a number of years. Sonny Stitt, another great alto player, hard bop player. But great recording, and it was in really, really good shape. And again, this is on the original Verve pressing, so I'm sure it's going to sound real good. I just picked these up. I haven't heard this yet, but I know the record, and it's in good shape, so that'll be a fun listen. Another record that I'm really familiar with, I have it on CD, but I don't have the vinyl of it. And it was reasonable. It's Amani Alexander live at the Montreux Festival. So very kind of this is sold a lot of records. It's one of his better recordings, and he plays great on here. Of course, Jeff Hamilton and John Clayton are guys I went to school with when I was in Indiana. They were in Indiana. Got on to great things, great players. Great trio record. If you don't have this, you ought to pick it up. It's a very swinging record and great interpretations of Work Song and Satin Doll, Battle Hymn of the Republic. Great recording. Sun and Plaza label. Amani Alexander live at Montreux. Good recording. Another thing I picked up over in Gig Harbor was a recording of Pat Metheny with Ornette Coleman on ECM. Again, I have it on CD, but I wanted a vinyl version of it. This is right after Pat went to Geffen Records. It's called Song X. Again, in good shape, and sounds real good. And Charlie Hayden's on this, and Pat and Ornette Coleman. How could you go wrong? Some really great playing on here. ECM. I'm sorry, Geffen Records. This is a great find on vinyl. Here's a player that a lot of people don't know about, but man, he's just a really great tenor player, Red Holloway. Didn't do a whole lot of recording by himself, but he was a sideman with a lot of people. The great Cyril Walton is on piano on here, and Jimmy Smith, not the Jimmy Smith that you know of Oregon, but the Jimmy Smith who's playing drums on here, and tasty player. Red Holloway and Company with Cedar Walton. This is a Concord jazz. It's a little hard to find, but it's a really swinging record. Red Holloway plays really, really, really good on this, on Concord. I think this was done back in the mid to late 80s, if I remember right, out in San Francisco. Red Holloway. Check out Red Holloway. I think you'd be surprised at what a good player he is. What else? A lot of people don't know this, but Pat Metheny got his start with the Gary Burton Quartet. One of his early records is a record called Passenger. Steve Swallow, Pat Metheny, Gottlieb, Dad Gottlieb on drums, Eberhard Weber on bass. I found this again, a good copy over in Gig Harbor on ECM, and it's a superb record. If you like Metheny, look at his work with Gary Burton. It's really amazing. He was very young back then, and really played wonderfully. It's a great record. A couple Pat tunes. There's a Chicoria tune on here, and that's some Steve Swallow a tune. But it's a great record. Passenger, Gary Burton Quartet on ECM. These are not your run-of-the-mill records that people really know about, but those recordings I just showed you are kind of little gems that are around that you can find with some great playing. The real find I found over in Gig Harbor was a original Impulse copy of Coltrane, Impulse A21, and this is in really great condition. And man, it sounds good. Recently there's been reissues of Crescent, Love Supreme, Live at the Village Vanguard that are just great and redone. I have to tell you, this original recording is one of the best sounding Impulses that I've heard. For the most part, the reissues have sounded better than the originals. This has not been reissued yet, but man, it sounds really good. It's a great recording on Impulse. I bet you can find this on CD pretty easy. On vinyl, a little tougher, but it's it's the quintet, you know, and or and they just the quartet rather, and they just play great on here. John Coltrane, can't go wrong. New recording. This just came yesterday from, I think I got this down at the In Groove in Phoenix, if I remember right. This is a reissue by Acoustic Sounds of Duke Ellington and John Coltrane. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this. It's just a great record, and I'd be singing the praise like a lot of the other people here on YouTube have. But it's around, and you can still find it. It's probably going to go out of press here pretty quick. It's an Impulse A30, so it's a couple issues from that last Coltrane. But you know, to get Duke Ellington and John Coltrane on the same record, you can't go wrong. But very, very, very tasty playing. Duke wasn't recording on Impulse, so he came over to do this record with Coltrane, and it's just superb playing. And the recording is excellent as well. Acoustic Sounds, I think, did the pressing on here. I don't know who did the mastering. I'm guessing it was either Kevin Gray or you know, somebody really, really good. I haven't opened this yet, but it's 180 gram vinyl. I'm sure it's very quiet. Anything that comes out of quality pressing over at Acoustic Sounds is really good. This is really a great album, and you can still find that now. Along with that came something I've been waiting for a long time. It's been finally repressed, the limited edition Soul Train in mono, again by Acoustic Sounds. They do less than 1,000 records per master on this, and that's why they sound so good. It's heavy-duty vinyl. It'll go out of press again. They'll probably repress them again in a year or two whenever they get around to it. It's really busy right now. There's a lot of pressing going on, and to get on the press is not easy. But this is a great record. I have the original jazz classic of this that came out a few years ago. It's really good. This just came yesterday from Acoustic Sounds in Kansas, and it's a you know, Analog Productions guarantee. I mean, it's just great stuff. And this is a classic Coltrane record on Prestige 7142 Soul Train. It features Red Garland on piano with basically the trio of Paul Chambers and Art Taylor. Did a lot of recording together, and I love Red Garland's playing, and just fits in really, really great with this, and just great tunes and great playing. Like I say, I have the other recording, the original jazz classic. I'm sure this is probably going to sound quite a bit better. What else? Oh, two other things. This came from Discogs yesterday. It's an interesting record. It's Gene Ammons and James Moody, two tenor players, both from Chicago, recorded back in early 70s, probably 71, you know, on the Fantasy label. It's an interesting record. You'd think with those two players that it'd be a really interesting, musically interesting record. I listened to it. It's really, it's interesting. They both play very differently, and it sounds like they're just not kind of feeding off each other like a lot of duos of the same instrument do. Recording's good. You could find this on Discogs, probably $10, $15. It's interesting to listen to. I just was disappointed in the way they interacted with each other. Not everything you buy is what you think it is. When I saw James Moody and Gene Ammons, both of who I really love, I thought it'd be a really great recording. It's a good recording, but individually they sound fine, but they really don't work together at all. I don't understand it. Frankly, if I were a record company, other than the fact that people would buy it because of the name. It's not up to par for both of these guys. Individually, both play great as they normally do, but together it just didn't sound that great. But it's an interesting listen. And finally, another Harry Edison. Listened to this twice last night. Pablo Records did a bunch of recordings with Oscar Peterson and other players. They did one with trumpet players. They did Dizzy and Roy Eldridge together. I think they did one with Clark Terry, and they're great. They did some with some tenor players and some other, Oscar Peterson and whoever. This is a great recording. Boy, it sounded really wonderfully. It's on Pablo Records. Recorded back in the early to mid 70s. These two guys work great, and of course Harry's playing. You know, what a great player! What a great player! If you could find this, and it's not, you can find it on Discogs. It's a great record. If you like Oscar, if you like Harry, you can't miss with this. That's about it. I think I ought to be talking about some of the other YouTube people that I listen to. And I'm going to mention one today that I've been listening to lately. This gentleman is in Dusseldorf, Germany, and really is very knowledgeable. There's a great library of music, both jazz and rock and roll. You won't hear too much of rock and roll from me. I don't know that much about it, and I don't collect it. But you'll learn a lot from this gentleman, and his YouTube channel is up. I'll put a link on here. It's a 45 RPM audio file. You'll learn a lot about a lot of things, and I enjoy listening to him, and I think you will too. So until next time, thank you all for checking this out. Subscribe, and if you have any comments, list them below, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.